Charlie Dean Allen here. Today I'm going to show you how to play that on 18 and Alice Cooper. We are in standard tuning for this tutorial, and the opening riff to this one starts with an E power chord. Now you're going to hit this E power chord twice on the downstroke and then kind of a little incidental upstroke, and then we're going to go open E, 2, 3 of the low E string, and then open A. Kind of like that, right? Then we're going to drop into a C major bar chord and just ride down the A, D, and G string. And then right back to the 3 of the A and slide into a D major bar chord and just catch that D, right? And then grab the B and G string on the upstroke. And that's the riff. That twice, and then we drop off to A, just an A power chord, into a B power chord, up to a C power chord, 3-finger chords, then into D. Right? A, B, C, D, and then back to E, and then C to D. 3-finger power chords, right? And that drops into the first verse. So that is the intro. There's a little short intro solo over that as well. You really want to get that slide. You really want to hear that slide, right? The intro solo is over this. That drops into the first verse. So the intro solo, the beginning of it is just unison bends. Right here, E minor pentatonic work here. All the solos are pretty much all E minor pentatonic, all the little fills and whatnot. So unison bend here, 15 of the B string, 12 of the high E. And when you get that one up there, that 15, you give it a full step bend, you're going to pick it again at the top. We're going to repeat this 4 times, and the 4th and final time, you're not going to give it the extra pick strike. Kind of like that, right? First 3 times. And then the final time, just leave it up there, right? And when the rhythm guitar drops back off to E, and then C into D, leading into the first verse, we're going to play this little pentatonic lick. Just going right down the pentatonic, starting on the root note here at the 12 of the low E. So we're going to go 12, 15, picking each note, right? And then on the A, D, and G string, it's just 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14. And you're going to give that 14 like 4 full step bend releases, right? And then the 4th one, leave it at the top, pick it, release it, off to 12, and then drop onto 14 of the D to finish the intro solo, right? Now, the verses, we're playing the same kind of 3 chords, E minor, C, and D. However, we're kind of arpeggiating this E minor and adding 1 note. So we're riding up the E minor, kind of like that, right? E minor chord here, but we're grabbing this D note on the way up on the 3rd fret of the B. So we're starting on the high E, and then we're grabbing that note and then off to open B. And then open G, and then you drop into the E minor, and then just continue riding up the strings, right? So we're basically just going, riding up the E minor, but we're adding in that D note. Kind of like that, right? And then we're going to go open A into C, right? And just ride ride down the 4 middle strings, then into D, and then just go D, G, B, G, and then back into the E minor again. Back to C, back to D, and then back to C, off and open A. And you're just going to ride all the way down to the high E and back up, and then back into D again. And then we're going to embellish that D a little bit, right, by dropping onto the sus here on the 3 of the high E. And then off to 2, off to open, and then grab that 3 of the B, right? And then back into the E minor with that added note. Back to C, back to D, and that's the end of the verse, right? So let's just recap that. C, D, E minor with that added note. Back to C, all the way down, D, embellish, E minor, and C, D, main riff. Three times. Off to A. I gotta get out of this place. I'm going right out of space. Oh yeah. Off to E and then D to C, right? And now this time, short little fill, 14th fret of the G. Little bend release off to 12. Right? Simple 12s and 14s of the 2 middle strings, right? Into the next verse, same as the first. Into the next chorus, right? And then we're into the main solo, which is pretty short, goes something like this. Again, all E minor pentatonic work here. We're starting with the unison bend, this time on the 14 of the G, 12 of the B. Right? Give that 14 a full step bend, and then you're going to rebend it 3 more times. And then finally release it off to 12, right? Into this. So we're going to drop onto 14 of the D. This is all going on the 2 middle strings. We're going to go 14, 12, 14, down to 12 of the G, back to the 14 of the D, and then back to the 12 of the G. Kind of like that, right? Into this. So we're going to pull off 14 off to 12 4 times on the G string, picking each one, right? Then you're going to grab that 14 of the G, give it a full step bend, and immediately catch the 12 of the high E and repeat that twice. Kind of like that, right? And then we drop onto the 15 of the B and do basically the same thing, catching that 12 of the high E after the bend on the 15. Kind of a unison bend, right? Finishing with this. So we're dropping onto 15 of the high E, bend release, pick it when you release it, and then go right up the pentatonic. 12, 15, 12 of the B, right into a full step bend on the 14 of the G. with a double hit of that 14 right into a full step bend. Right, and that's the end of the solo. So let's recap. Unison bend 3 more times. Right? Nice little vibrato on that. Right into another verse. Same as all the others. We already learned this, right? C, D embellished, E minor, C, D, chorus. Until the end of the track, right? There's a couple of little fills, a couple of unison bends there, right, on the 12 and 15 of the E and B. A little lick like that, right? Just little fill licks that he's throwing in there. And right at the very end, we're gonna go C into D, D, and then back to E minor and rake up the strings. Kind of like that. And there you go. That is how you play I'm 18 and Alice Cooper. Certainly hope you enjoyed that, found it helpful. If you did, please hit that like button right down there. Maybe drop me a subscribe if you haven't done that already, as that would be very kind. Hope you're well out there, and we will see you next time. Cheers.